Right, so for those of you wanting better battery life with the 15 series, it seems your wish might be granted, so let's delve into it. So it's safe to say Apple's already the king when it comes to battery life. iPhone 14 Pro Max destroys plenty of its Android rivals when it comes to endurance. However, many of us were disappointed by the lack of any substantial battery upgrades with the 14 Pro Max. In fact, you might not know this, but the 14 Pro Max is actually slightly worse when it comes to battery life compared to the 13 Pro Max. And yes, I know that can be resolved by turning off the always on display, but of course, Apple ideally should have compensated the more power hungry always on display feature with a bigger battery inside and given us similar battery life. But hey, it seems Apple has a TikTok cycle of sorts when it comes to battery upgrades. For example, the iPhone 11 Pro had big battery upgrades, the 12 Pro that followed suit did not. Then we saw battery upgrades once again with the 13 Pro series, and now we have no upgrades with the 14 Pro, but the 15 Pro's next. And so going by this cycle, we should see battery upgrades with the next iPhones. And that's exactly what this new report says. Apparently the focus with the A17 chip is going to be on battery life and efficiency instead of giving us better performance. So basically, in case you weren't aware, TSMC's Taiwan plants are going to begin producing 3nm chips as soon as this week. So they had a ceremony this week basically celebrating that they're going to produce these new chips. And apparently during this, the chairman of TSMC said these new 3nm chips are going to offer better performance than the 5nm chips while requiring 35% less power. That is a big claim, and since Apple is going to be the first company to take these chips, that does mean the A17 could be way more efficient, and that could give us better battery life. And that's quite exciting news for me because I think iPhones are plenty powerful, we don't need much better performance, but the battery life can always be improved, and so if Apple can couple these more efficient chips with a bigger physical battery, the iPhone 15 Pro series could be real battery champs. And yeah, overall I'm excited for these 3nm chips because the A16 was not that big of a change. Yes, Apple calls it 4nm, but technically it's a more enhanced version of the 5nm process we saw with the A14 and A15 chips. And so basically there was not many big improvements when it came to performance and efficiency. And as a result, Qualcomm's new Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 actually does surpass the A16 in some performance benchmarks. Now yes, as I said, performance does not mean a lot, but it's not great that Qualcomm has now caught up. Apple's clearly been stagnant this year, so I'm expecting big things with the A17 next year. And do remember in a previous report, we heard about plans for ray tracing with the A16 GPUs, but it was cancelled last minute, and so maybe that's going to come to the A17 GPUs. And so yes, as I've been saying again and again, expect big changes with the A17 chips. But guys, I'm really excited for the efficiency improvements. 35% less power is substantial, and of course, imagine Apple paired that with a 5,000 mAh battery for the Ultra. That could give us insane battery life, and I'm praying that Apple does this with the iPhone 15 series. Anyways, let's delve into your questions. So David, regarding the 15 series going portless or using Thunderbolt instead, says that he thinks Apple's going to use Thunderbolt ports as they'll be fast enough for moving big video files. And yeah, that's really why I think Thunderbolt makes sense for the iPhone, because we have things like ProRes and ProRAW, so of course, to transfer these massive files, consumers should not be forced to put up with the Lightning ports that has USB 2.0 speeds. We need Thunderbolt, and it would be a big upgrade for the pros. And yes, I'm aware that only a small portion of users actually use ProRes, but Apple's marketing this feature, so of course there's going to be people wanting to try ProRes, and the process to transfer the content should be a lot more seamless. So William says, I think Apple may get rid of the 14 Plus since no one is buying it. Instead they have the 15 by itself, and it would be in between the regular and plus size at around 6.4 inches. This would mean there is room for a model above the 15 Pro Max in the range, which would be the 15 Ultra. I also think regarding USB-C on the iPhone, they could possibly make it a Pro or even Ultra exclusive until the legislation comes into place. So regarding your first point, I think that yes, there is a chance the 14 Plus could be killed off. However, it seems that Apple does like to give new models another chance for survival, because we did see the 13 mini get released, even though the 12 mini was a massive flop. And so considering we have heard about the 15 Plus, I do think it's going to stay around for another year. But of course, your idea of one regular model being 6.4 inches, essentially what Apple's doing with the iPhone 11 and 10R, would be perfect. I think that makes a ton of sense. There should only really be one regular size, so I'm down for that change. However, regarding the idea of there being 3 Pro models, I think that would be too convoluted. I don't think we need a Pro Max and an Ultra in the range, since most wanting the bigger size also want the best features, and so replace the Pro Max with the Ultra. Since if anything, Apple has probably now learnt that hey, we don't need as many iPhone models in the range, just offer a basic regular size and then 2 Pro models, and that would be more than fine for most consumers. We don't need another size option. So at user says still happy with the 7 Plus, it does everything it needs to, waiting for a bigger jump. Maybe the 15 Ultra will be the one. Many people I know are still rocking the 6S or the 7, looking to upgrade next year. So that's interesting. You still know many using the 6S or the 7, because in my personal life, a lot of people do have newer iPhones. I would say the most popular iPhone I see friends and families use are the iPhone 11 series, and so they won't be upgrading anytime soon. But I think for you, coming from the 7 Plus, the 15 Ultra should be a big upgrade. Heck, the 14 Pro Max already has a ton of upgrades, but if the 7 Plus still works for you, then of course, by all means, keep using it. And yeah, that's a great thing about modern iPhones. If your use case is pretty light, you can keep using these for years and years, even after they lose support, because Apple does occasionally still give them security updates. And so yes, longevity wise, the iPhone is undefeated. So Garrett says make a Mini Pro, Regular Pro and Max Pro. Now I know many want a Mini Pro, but I don't think that's going to happen, because number one, the Mini wasn't a very popular device in the first place, and that was due to the high price. And so having a Mini Pro variant that could be upwards of $1,000 is definitely going to put many consumers off. But also, to remember physics-wise, you are not going to fit a triple lens camera bump on the Mini form factor without drastically reducing the battery size. And battery life was one of the biggest issues with the 12 and 13 Mini, so of course, making that battery even smaller to give us Pro features is kind of useless. So yeah, that's about it guys, but tell me your thoughts regarding this report in the comments. Anyways, thank you for watching guys, make sure to like and subscribe for the latest Apple news and rumours. Check out the video above on details regarding new HomePods, and on that note, see ya peeps.